Welcome to my channel. If you're a liberal here, come to scold me into voting for Joe Biden, go away. I've already done my part. I'm not going to tweet about Biden's history of sexual harassment till after the election, and I've requested my absentee ballot. Check it out. And I am voting, and I guess I'm voting for Biden. But I just can't get on this happy Democratic train and just riding with Biden. I made this video for all the other grumpy leftists and progressives out there, because if this year wasn't bad enough, with the wildfires and COVID and the economy and the deaths and the more wildfires, the best candidate that we got against the orange Cheeto fascist internet comment come to life, the best Democrat we got is Biden. Yay! No, a vote for a third party isn't a vote for Trump. It's a vote for someone who, hopefully, won't scream off the wildfires in California while blaming the Republicans, but then not backing the Green New Deal, or criticize Trump's handling of the COVID crisis while not supporting healthcare for all. So I'm not here to talk you into voting for Joe Biden. I am here to talk about third parties and why I'm not voting for a third party this year in 2020. Because honestly, I still haven't gotten over being betrayed by Ralph Nader back in 2000. And I'm still waiting for this progressive socialist revolution that all the lefties love to talk about. But if I'm going to talk about voting, I'm going to need a beer. Cheers. Let's do this thing. So the first presidential election I voted for was in 2000, the infamous race of George W. Bush against Al Gore. Activist Ralph Nader was running, a consumer advocate, and the author of Unsafe at Any Speed, which took on car companies' reluctance to introduce basic safety features. As someone from Detroit, someone taking on the car companies really appealed to me, and honestly, Al Gore was kind of an uninspiring candidate. So I went to Nader's rallies. He said we were building a leftist coalition, a movement. Maybe if enough of us voted, the Green Party could get matching funds in the next election. A way to actually change the two-party system. And bless my optimistic 19-year-old heart, I believed him. I voted for Nader in 2000. And he, Winona LaDuke, got almost 3 million votes. I mean, not enough for matching funds, but maybe enough for a movement, right? Right? Well, no. I watched as Nader took any momentum built up from the 2000 election, and 4 years later, kicked the Green Party aside to run as an independent candidate. Nader didn't stick around to try to build the Green Party up into something that could actually get more lefty politicians out of the ballot and in office. Nader went and actively campaigned in swing states. To me, wasting that energy that he built up in 2000 was awful. And honestly, it seemed like he was less interested in building a real viable third party and more interested in just hurting the Democrats. Maybe it's a little bit of vanity too. I mean, in 2004, there were some candidates that Ralph Nader liked. I mean, he said Dennis Kucinich was a genuine progressive. Why didn't those two work together? Or Howard Dean, who I voted for. I mean, damn that scream in Iowa. But the one thing I learned during the Bush years, it's really hard to get lefties and progressives to unite around a single candidate. In the end, of course, John Kerry got the Democratic nomination and then lost to Bush because, to me, he was a waffling centrist. I mean, he voted for the Patriot Act and also for the Iraq War 2002. And I'm supposed to get excited about this guy? But even a second Bush term didn't unite leftists in a meaningful way. I mean, probably because Barack Obama was seen as such a progressive darling, any sort of real consensus on the left to get another candidate elected wasn't going to work in 2008. I guess we all just sort of relaxed and took it easy again in 2012. Which is why I'm so suspicious when people talking about voting for a third party now, as if a second Trump term will somehow magically unite the left. I mean, I love the idea of a united left, but I just don't quite know if I believe it. I mean, this year alone we've had massive civil uprisings, a government completely failing to respond adequately to a pandemic, a government that's black-bagging its own citizens, and a president that's telling people if they can't trust the media or facts or organizations like the World Health Organization, they can only trust him. This is scary, and it's just the perfect time for the left to do something. But you know what else? I wish the left would actually do something other than argue about how everyone else isn't leftist enough, or try to do something other than just engage in endless, pointless infighting. Because honestly, if I didn't believe so strongly that our cause is just, that ending systemic racism is necessary, that we must end capitalism's death grip on the environment, and we must end homophobia and sexism, I don't want to deal with this either. I mean, have you seen leftists argue with each other online? Because I spend a lot of time in lefty groups and pages on social media, and wow, some of it is great discourse, and some of it is just petty bickering. For example, someone will ask if it's better to reform the current system or just overthrow it, and a discussion will commence. But then someone will complain about white people performing activism in the Black Lives Matter movement, and down thread, an argument about bisexual lesbians will break out. Then someone on Facebook has a tag group about cringy leftists. Some of the white people get upset that they might have to do some unpacking with their own internalized racism. The other half go over to Reddit, where the post with most upvotes is the thread about the best lefty books to read, and then on to Twitter, which is full of guillotine memes and white hot reactions. And everyone gets owned, everyone is either declared either trash or cringe, and nothing gets done. I mean, K-pop stans show more unity than leftists. And for white people who spend more time arguing online how you're not racist instead of actually doing something to fight racism, I have some bad news for you. And yes, bi lesbians are valid, don't at me. But having said all that, I'm sorry, third parties just aren't ready for the big time, and at this rate, they never will be. I mean, I admit, part of the reason why third parties don't get any attention in elections is by design, because in order to actually change who gets funding, who gets on ballots, who gets into debates, there would have to be some changes in the government, which is controlled by Democrats and Republicans who have no interest in seeing more third parties come up. But a small part of it is how just sort of not good third parties seem. Remember in 2016, the Green Party candidate, Jill Stein, was waffling about if vaccines cause autism. The Libertarian candidate couldn't find Aleppo on a map. I mean, and this year in 2020, the current Green Party candidate has a Joe Rogan debate in his pinned tweet. And the Socialist Party, hang on, let me check. The Party for Socialism and Liberation is a write-in candidate in most states. Write-ins! How quaint. If I'm looking for new and exciting ways to make sure that my vote counts for even less, I'll be sure to come asking for you. But honestly, I'm making jokes because I would love to see some real socialist and communist options on the ballot. Because you know what? I don't want to watch the world burn because our current two-party system kept corporate suits in power. I want to unfuck the world now. I want to start making education more accessible for everyone. I want to make healthcare universal. I want to start giving actual justice to Native Americans, starting with dismantling the Dakota pipeline. But you know what? I don't know how to unite the left, and honestly, I wonder if the left knows how to be united. So before you vote third party, can I just ask you this? Can you support these parties the rest of the year? Because if we could build an actual party, a coalition, a movement, we could do something. Follow the Green Party or the Socialist Party on Twitter or other social media. Like and share their stuff. Maybe get involved if there's a local group for you. And not just during a presidential election year, but the rest of the year. And during other elections. I mean, there's third parties during congressional races, gubernatorial elections, and campaigns for mayor. Because I keep seeing this happen. Every 4 years, the Democrats find some boring person to nominate. The lefty and progressives all make faces. And that's the only time that third parties get much mention. Because a lot of leftists I know have kind of given up on the current political and voting system entirely, laughing at my suggestion to either email senators or do other things. And while I totally get that emailing politicians and even organizing protests probably won't have that much of an impact, why discount it entirely? Why yell into the void on Twitter if you're not going to be trying to yell at the people in power? And honestly, what good are your lefty beliefs if you're not going to at least try to put them in action? And some leftists are waiting for things to reach a certain point when we'll all just unite and have a revolution. Which sounds awesome. I mean, comrades, are we fucking doing this? I mean, we have a plague, parts of the US are literally on fire, and our current system of capitalism has failed. So are we fucking doing this? Let's ride at dawn, comrades. I mean, why wait for 4 more years of Trump? How bad do things have to get before the left finally unites? Which is why I'm not voting a third party this year. No, I don't believe that the Democrats will make things a lot better, but I also don't think that waiting for the perfect moment to have a revolution is the answer either. So yeah, I'm voting for Biden. If you're not and you're going to vote third party, please consider supporting the third parties the rest of the year, not just during a presidential election. I mean, maybe we could start to build an actual movement. And also, And also, ask yourself how bad things should get before the left finally unites and takes action. And also, ask yourself, how bad are things going to get before the left finally unites? And hey, I'm going to leave the comments open. If anyone has an idea how to unite the left in the US, please let me know. So we're on social media, so do that thing. Like, subscribe, organize, revolt, riot, leave a comment, share it, but just do something. Alright, I'm all done.